الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. All praise due to Allah and His praise and blessings and peace be upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, his companions and his followers until the day of judgment. I bear witness that Allah is the only one worthy of worship and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam his last and final messenger. My dear brothers and sisters, هذا الصيف قد أتى ومع وقت الصيف تكون هناك فرص عظيمة وفتن كثيرة نسأل الله العافية. Summer is starting. Officially, after the Memorial Day, the official day of summer starts in America. Many kids, today is their last day of school, or next week is their last day of school. And with summer, there is a great opportunities, a lot of time at hand, and also there is a lot of, problems comes with the summers. A lot of tests and trials as well. A summer is having nothing to do and all day to do it. So for some people, that's what summer is. Unfortunately, it is just basically, they are highly motivated to do nothing during the summer. Which is, an ironic situation. And I would like to dedicate my khutbah today about the summer, since we are about to start it. First of all, it's so important for us to teach our children from very early age that time is the most valuable thing that they have in life. وَالْوَقْتُ أَنْفَسُ مَا عُنِيتَ بِحِفْظِهِ وَأَرَاهُ أَسْهَلُ مَا عَلَيْكَ يَضِيعُ. That basically time is the most valuable thing that Allah have gifted you, and I see you wasting it as if it has no value for you. Shafi'i rahimahullah, Shafi'i, when he mentioned that some people think الوقت كالذهب قال لا هو أغلى من الذهب. Shafi'i, when he was told that time is like gold, he said no, time is not like gold. Time is more valuable than gold. Because if you lose your gold, you can pre-purchase it. You sell and buy again. But time, you cannot regain it. You cannot gain that time if you lose it. And that's why the most accurate way, as the Shafi'i said, it's like sword. It will cut you and you cannot cut it. It will cut through you. It's people speaking of killing time, while time slowly killing them. يا ابن آدم إنما أنت أيام مجموعة يقول الحسن البصري إذا ذهب يومك ذهب بعضك. So we have to teach our kids, because it's automatic. Some people, like in summer, it means, wasting time or doing nothing, or, I'm done with the school. Just the moment you talk about something of value, it became something we train our kids and their brain to basically to think that it is okay because it's summer is to waste the time and not to benefit from it. Time is ticking. Every day has 1440 minutes. Every week has 168 hours. That means your summer this year will have 2,184 hours. About 131 and 40,000 minutes. And I'm mentioning specifically the minutes because if you don't care about the minutes and the seconds, you will not care about the hours and the days and the weeks. If minutes okay to be wasted, hours I guarantee you will be wasted as well. دقات يقول شوقي رحمه الله دقات قلب المرء قائلة له إن الحياة دقائق وثواني. Your heartbeat telling you that life is nothing but a collection of seconds and minutes. And every second is of infinite value. The question is, how will you spend them? How we spend our days? That's the question that we should ask. Because how we spend our days is how we spend our lives, isn't it? And that's something that I would like you to, when you go back today, to let your kids understand this concept. How you spend your days is how you spend your lives. And they think about that. And that's lead me to say the first point that I want to share today, that is so important to talk and ask your kids. I was asking my kids this morning, I said, what's your plan for the summer? I didn't need to give them one, I can guide them and help them. But the question, you make them answer this question to themselves first. What's the plan for the summer? What you planning to do? What you going to do in this summer? And you as well. You know, people often complain about lack of time, when lack of direction is the real problem. Lack of planning is the real problem, not the time. So make sure that from the beginning of summer that they have certain goals that they want to achieve. Speak to them about these planning and these goals and how they will plan to go from point A to point B. Make sure that during the summer you keep them motivated. Make sure during the summer you have a checkpoint where you review with them their progress, where they have, what kind of progress they made when it comes to their, goals in the summer. And if you're old and you don't have a young kids at home yet, and by the way, this is also applied to young adults in your home. Even if your kids in their teenagers or 20s, you can also motivate them if they have a break from college or so to have the same thing. Because I'm surprised by how when kids get older, they think that they don't need to care about, time anymore, or salah anymore, or coming to the masjid anymore, or Quran anymore, as if these things only for kids. But when they became teenager, 18, 17, 19, 20, or in their 20s in college, as if these things are not applicable to them. You see them when they were younger, they care more about Quran, care more about masjid, care more about being a part of the community, and they get older, they drifted and shift away, and they think this is for kids. But that's not true. They need these things more than the kids. So make sure that you always, during this time or during the summer, you review with them their goals, how they can change their goals as they go. And basically they make sure that they make progress. Motivate them. Reward them by words and praising. And also by gifts. Maybe you tell, hey, if you memorize in the month of June, one page of the Quran, I have, for example, a $50 gift card for you. Or I'll do this for you. Or I'll buy you this. Motivate them and give them basically all kind of motivation. Another thing, make sure you teach them how to do good goals. There is a very famous acronym, SMART goals. Those on business understand what that means. But I have my own SMART goal, which stands for SMART, I made this especially for the kids. SMART, S stands for small. Make sure that your kids have small goals. SMART, basically, the M stands for something memorable. Something that it's memory. Something that will be nice, that they will think about and remember it as they grow older. And the A for attainable, something that your kids can attain, can achieve in the summer. The R stands for relaxing. I think it's important summer not to stress them out and not to overload them. Make their goals smart. R stands for relaxing. Something that, it takes a sustainable effort, but it doesn't need to be too hard. Also, the T, smart, stands in taking them to Jannah. Anytime you put a goal, make sure that هذا الهدف يسوقهم إلى الجنة يقربهم من الله. Is it by the right intention, or it is by the action itself that lead them to Jannah? In summer, we tend to travel. يكثر السفر في الصيف. And before I start anything about traveling, especially my people, can we make sure that traveling day is a fun day? Traveling day is one of the worst days sometimes in traveling. It is so stressed out, screaming, yelling, cursing stuff a lot sometimes. And just make sure that you calm down. If you have to see one of these doctors to help you with something that calm you down, whatever, just take some melatonin or something, like, to calm you down, or Benadryl. If that's what it takes to calm down, just no need for yelling and screaming and being, don't start the trip with making it terrible. And I'm guilty as many others. But I always make sure to tell myself, hey, don't start the trip with negative. Try to keep it positive. So make sure that you make the trip fun. Also, traveling is such a beautiful thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala amarna an nasih fil ard. Sihu fil ard. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala order us to travel and to explore the world. You know what's the most beautiful thing in this world? Is the world. The most beautiful things in the world is this world. So go see it. Go experience it. Take your kids and make sure when you travel for the sake of exploring to have that intention. اجعل نيتك صالحة خالصة لله بأنك تريد أن تعرف وتقف على خلق الله. You want to see the creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And make sure you take these points and you make the point to your kids. When they see the mountains, the snow, the lakes, whatever you go, the rivers, remind them of the power and the beauty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And take the opportunity to connect them, because one of the things that connect you with Allah is to be connected with the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are so attached to machines, and machines made by men. So obviously you will be attached to human being. But when you connect with nature, which is made by Allah, you will be automatically connect more with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why it's so important for us to be always out and go, take an opportunity to go, even if it's a short hike. I'll tell you, I travel a lot. A lot of people know that about me. One of my favorite things when I travel, that I get to meet, but not to meet people. I meet myself. So many times when you travel, you get to meet yourself. You get to spend some time with yourself and to review your life and to reflect upon your life. And you discover things in you didn't know before. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. And as-safar yusfir an akhlaq an-nas. Traveling is basically bring things in you that is never be discovered when you are at home. And that's why it is so important to make sure that you discover your kids in traveling. You get to know a lot about your kids in traveling. One of my kids, I was traveling, and I said, hey, I'm going to give you a budget in this. She's like 10 years old, something like that. I said, in this trip, I want you to know how to budget. So I'm going to give you a budget. So I gave her like a $50 for I don't know how many days. She's anyway gone in one day. I said, khalas, it's one day. She said, Baba, this is not enough. I said, Habibti, in your, not my days, in your older sister's days. She said, not my days, your older sister's days. You know how much $50 will last them? She said, yeah, but at that time they don't have inflation. She said, yeah, but at that time they don't have inflation. I was like 10 years old telling me inflation. Anyway, so you know what? I get to know things I don't know. It's fun to get and to explore and to get to know something about your children and to, discover how much they know, how much they are, basically observant of the world around them. Another thing about traveling that I want to make sure that we take full advantage of it, صلة الرحم. فإن الله يصل من يصل رحمه ويقطع من قطع رحمه. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will connect to those who connected to their family. And when you're connected to Allah, you're connected to the mercy, the blessings, the bounties, the security, the safety, the reward. تصل كل ما عند الله من الرحمة والفضل والخير. صلة الرحم من أعظم العبادات عند الله, one of the most great acts of worship. So make sure if you go to visit your family, another state, another country, you talk to your kids about the good intention. That we go in there just not for fun, not to have your cousins, and no, it's to basically connect with your relatives. And if you can take days just specifically to do that, do it. Also, one of the things that it is important as we travel, is to avoid common mistakes. And I might give a special khutbah about traveling. But just quickly, one of the common mistakes that I see when people travel, especially long travel, they miss salah in the airplane. What they do, they said we're going to pray Dhuhr and Asr and Maghrib and Isha and Fajr sometimes when we land in somewhere in Europe. Or they pray Fajr and Dhuhr and Asr when they land in Europe. No, you can't do that. It's not allowed. You must pray on time. And when you pray on time, you don't pray according to the time of Houston. You're according to the time where you're at. You look at the sun. If the sun goes down, that means Maghrib. You pray Maghrib and Isha. If the sun's about to come out, you pray Fajr. If it's Dhuhr time and the time you travel, and by the way, today there is apps, it will calculate the time of Salah no matter where you're at in the world, even if you are between cities, even if you are flying. So you can download one of these apps and you will be able to find the time of your Salah, no matter where you're at in the world. Another thing is, when you pray, that basically if it's an obligatory prayer, your face and chest must be facing the Qibla. And I'll teach you something, make things a lot easier. The Qibla in general, for example, if you travel from America, go into the Middle East. So the Qibla is from the east, north to the southeast. So you have that angle to pray. Even it's north, east or southeast, all correct, all acceptable. You don't have to be exactly on the basically northeast or 45 degree. You don't have to. If you can't in the airplane, that will be sufficient. Let's say you go down under, you're in Australia and you're traveling up north. So the Qibla for you will be north. You go from the east to the west. So you have all this as a Qibla for you. So that's hopefully to help you a little bit to adjust yourself in the seat and you pray. And you pray in the airplane while you're sitting. And you pray the Dhuhr 2 rak'ah, Asr 2 rak'ah, and Maghrib and Isha 2 rak'ah. And Maghrib and Fajr you pray 3 and 2. You cannot shorten that. Also, I want to make sure that if you travel to a country, which is the people of this country, the majority of them not Christian or Jews, you cannot eat their food. You go to Japan, you're to Korea, you're South Korea, you go to China, whatever one of these countries where the majority are not Muslims, you can't just eat the food there. That's not allowed. That's not halal. Okay, so in this case, you don't allow to eat the meat unless you know that it is slaughtered by a Muslim or a Jewish or a Christian person. So this is different than the way you are. Also, in some countries, in some European countries, they announced that the vast majority of people there are atheists. Like some of these countries, some Scandinavian countries, can reach to the atheist level into 70%. And I think you do a little bit of homework, because if this is the case, you're not allowed to eat the meat there too. So make sure you do a little bit of homework about where you can. If it's the majority Christians, the majority are Christian or a Jew, I guess Christians, that will be you add the 2% together and you add the Muslim, the majority of this country became in the category of who you're allowed to eat from their food. You're allowed to eat the meat and the chicken in that place, unless you know this particular meat has not been slaughtered. I love for you to travel. I love you to take your kids, even if it's a couple of days. Believe me, guys, we travel not to escape life, but for life not to escape us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala an yarzuqana wa iyyakum ilman nafi'a wa yanfa'ana bima naqulu wa nasma' wa sallallahu ala Muhammad. Alhamdulillahi wahdahu as-salatu was-salamu ala man la nabiyya ba'dahu ba'd. In the summer, it is important to be connected to the masjid, especially to the prayer. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said the salah in the masjid is 25 times double, 27 times doubles than home. Make sure that your kids come to the masjid. You know what? If you give your kid a car, because he start driving and you give him a license, make it a condition. I'm giving you a car so you can take your youngest one to the masjid. I'm giving you a car so you can pray in the masjid more often. I didn't give you the car so you can go to shisha place more often. I didn't give you a car for you just to go to the cinemas. I didn't give you a car for just go buy grocery. One of the most important use for the car is to use it for going more often to the masjid and taking your sisters and your brothers to the masjid and to pray there Isha and to pray there Maghrib and to pray Fajr and to pray Dhuhr and Asr. So make sure that you talk to them about that and make sure that they understand the importance of it. Also, make sure that you are familiar with the activities that are happening in the masjid. We have in this summer a lot of activity happening in the masjid for young age kids, for young adults, for the adults themselves. You know, there's courses, there's programs, there's Emerge program, there's Tree programs going in the summer. Make sure that your kids involved. Some Quran classes. And if the kids, about summer, it's break, that's break. It's not only lecturing, there's a lot of fun activity. But you know what? You have to understand that time is connected to the concept of growing. You need to, as your time goes on, you have to grow with it. In the summer, people go to beaches, water parks. You know, make sure that you don't expose your awrah. Make sure you understand that men and women. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said it's haram for a woman to look at another woman's awrah. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said it's haram. لا تنظر المرأة إلى عورة المرأة. And it's not allowed. أن ينظر الرجل إلى عورة الرجل. You're not allowed to look at another man's awrah. And also it is haram to touch the awrah of someone else. Or to expose your own awrah in public. In summer, people spend a lot of time in games and movies and watching. Maybe you can tell your kids that. Reading a lot of books. If you read a lot of books, you will be considered well read. But if you watch a lot of movies, you will not be considered well reviewed or well viewed. You know, I told my son that day, he loves to play games. I said to my son, Doctor, I was telling him, man, get alive. He said, Baba, I have a lot of lives. I have a lot of lives in my game. You know, unfortunately, if you in your games, you have a lot of lives, I have a bad news for you. You only have one life in real life. If you lose it, you lose it. You know, I'm not saying don't be involved with the playing games online or have a social media activity. No, but what is important for me to focus to be social, not how to do social. Do you get the difference? To focus and to be social, not to focus on how to do social media. You know, when you talk to your kids, a game is another khutbah. But I told my son, he said, Baba, don't worry. Everything's under control. I said, that's the problem. Everything under the control. You know, that's all the life. My life's been revolving around that games. You know, part of it in time, it's okay, but excessive, no, it's not good. You know, and I want you to give your kids a break, let them, you know, have to play, but also make sure that they invest part of their time in something beneficial. طيب, يعني, I've been too much on the kids. I have a message from your kid to you, parents. You know, your kids, they say behind your back, we have a dream that one day my mom and my dad will understand that online games cannot be paused. With this been said, in all seriousness, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam told us that when a person praying, not playing, praying, and his parents call him, and he's in a volunteer prayer, he cut off his prayer and go answer his mom and dad. Compare this to playing game. Yes, we're not going to abuse this right as parents, but I want children to understand the importance and put things in right priority. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's other things I would like to say and to mention, but maybe in future khutbahs about things in summer as well, like drugs and drinking issues and dating and zina and smoking and also some of the haram things that people watch and all this kind of things. But just make sure that that we try our best to make this summer free from sins as much as we can. And Aisha radiallahu anha قالت أقلوا من الذنوب فإنكم لن تلقوا الله بشيء أفضل من قلة الذنب. Don't do too many sins, as much as you can. There is nothing better for you in the day of judgment when you meet Allah to have less number of sins in your record in the day of judgment. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our sin. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to do good. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us and our children to maximize our benefit in this summer, and to help us to use this time for what is beneficial for us in this dunya and the next. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us and our family and to fill our homes with righteousness, with goodness. اللهم إنا نسألك أن تصلح أولادنا وأن تصلح بناتنا وأن تصلح أحوالنا أن تمتعنا بأسماعنا وأبصارنا وقواتنا أبدا ما أحييتنا. اللهم إني أسألك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام أن ترحم إخواننا المستضعفين في فلسطين. اللهم ارحم إخواننا في غزة. اللهم ارحم إخواننا في غزة. اللهم ارحم إخواننا في غزة. اللهم أنزل عليهم رحمتك ونصرا من عندك. اللهم ادرع عنهم السوء يا ذا الجلال والإكرام واجعل دائرة السوء على من ظلمهم وخذلهم يا حي يا قيوم. اللهم إني أسألك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام أن تعافي مبتلاهم وأن تشفي مرضاهم وأن تداوي جرحاهم وأن تحفظهم من بين أيديهم ومن خلفهم وعن أيمانهم وعن شمائلهم ومن فوقهم، وأعوذ بعظمتك أن يغتالوا من تحتهم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم يا حي يا قيوم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا حي يا قيوم هون على المسلمين المستضعفين المظلومين في مشارق الأرض ومغاربها، واجمع على الحق كلمتهم وولي عليهم خيارهم وأبعد عنهم شرارهم، وبارك لنا في أموالنا وبيوتنا وبلدنا يا ذا الجلال والإكرام، ولي علينا خيارنا وأبعد عنا شرارنا يا حي يا قيوم، ولا تجعلنا فتنة للقوم الظالمين. وصل اللهم على محمد وآله وقوموا للصلاة يرحمكم الله.